Chrissy, welcome to Halloween Daily. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Oh man, I am so excited to talk to you. You have got a lot of awesome things going on right now that you're a part of, and you've been a part of a lot of awesome things that we love. I'm very excited to talk to you and really get into some of your journey that's brought you to this point, which I think is a really awesome point in your career. I always like to start with some questions about Halloween itself. And we are, of course, Halloween Daily News, where every day is Halloween. And I usually ask if you celebrate, but I follow you on Instagram, so I know you. I know the answer to that. I saw some adorable photos of your little one trick or treating and all. So my first question is, how was your Halloween? We're recording this 2 days after October 31st. So how was your Halloween this year?
It was awesome. This was my daughter is 2. She just turned 2 and she is obsessed with like monsters and she loves scary movies and all this. So this is the first year she's kind of understood what trick-or-treating might be. And so everyone was kind of blown away by her because we went to this cool area in Toluca Lake, which is in LA, that they go all out and there's like people on stilts and there's like this, like it just everyone like decks their house and like these giant monsters were like running up to her and she's just like waving and it was so awesome to see. I probably cried like 5 times just to see how happy she was, and she's so much like me, so I love that. But yeah, it was great. It was mellower than some of my past Halloweens because I was hanging with a 2-year-old, but sure. It was really great, and it's just nice to see her be as excited about it as we all are in this house. So,
oh yeah, and that's been one of my great joys as a parent too. Of course, is getting to relive all of those childhood Halloweens and do it again and see it through their fresh eyes.
Yeah.
Did you always celebrate Halloween as a kid growing up yourself?
Yeah, it was always a big deal. I'm from a small town, and a lot of stuff, that I do now maybe didn't exist then, but Halloween was always a big deal. We always trick-or-treated. It was always like a huge deal. My mom would like make us wear like a snowsuit under our costume, which we hated because it was cold up in Canada. Yeah. But yeah, no, and as I got older, I would always, go all out. We'd go to all of these really fun parties and then touring with the band. I really loved playing shows on Halloween. A few years back, we got to play Halloween and Day of the Dead with Marilyn Manson, which was an insane Halloween party. Like, that scene was really cool. But yeah, I love playing shows on Halloween if I can. And now I love trick-or-treating again. So, and I did make her wear a snowsuit. So that was fun. Yeah.
No snowsuit required this time for her. Exactly. And it is great how it kind of comes full circle. And then now she'll go through all those stages of enjoying it, probably right up to watching the scary movies with you guys. That was another great joy with my son, who's now 14, but, kind of going through all the classics with him and still exposing him to some of them and kind of giving him his Halloween horror movie education. That was fun as well.
It's so important. Like, it's funny because my daughter loves like horror movies. And obviously there's certain things I don't show her that are maybe like a little like graphic or rape or things like right. Violence. I try to but if it's monsters, I did show her the original Halloween this year and she loved it. She thought it was awesome. And yeah, she loves like anything like that. Anything with monsters, she'll like sit and watch, and she really likes the movies we make. A lot of times because she's on set and she's been around everybody, so it's very familiar to her. And I do all the posts, so she's like sitting there while I'm editing. So it's just like I feel like she almost finds it comforting. We have a life-size Frank in our living room right now, and she just like hugs him when she comes home and stuff. It's really weird, but it's nice because it's all relative when you're that little. You don't know that you're supposed to be afraid unless you're taught to be afraid of it. So yeah. So the thing that she's like, she's the most afraid of is our robot vacuum. Like she's not afraid of anything else. So it's kind of nice.
That's hilarious. That is great. I love that she's already into the spooky stuff and the scary stuff. And but of course, as it should be. I would expect no less from you. That's awesome. we always ask, what is your favorite Halloween costume from years past and your favorite Halloween candy?
Oh wow, that's hard. Well, I'm Canadian, and I know they have the same candy by the same name down here, but they're different types of candy. In Canada I have these things called Smarties that are like M&Ms, but they're a little sweeter. And so that's always been my favorite candy. We don't get that down here. So that, and then my favorite costume, that's hard. Well, a few years ago, my fiance Spider and I went as Sid and Nancy. That was pretty fun. I liked doing that.
Very cool.
I try to mix it up, you know. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that was fun. It's fun to do something with like your friends, you know, do like a group costume. So that was pretty fun.
Awesome. Very cool. So you've done a lot in your career. Like I said, there's a lot of different projects I want to talk about, but when did you first realize and get interested in acting and performing, I guess I should say?
I honestly very young. I was really into like I used to just watch a lot of very mature films when I was young. And I did theater in school, and like I said, I was from a really small town on Vancouver Island, and there wasn't like an entertainment industry there at all. And so I was always told, I always wanted to be a performer, an actress, a musician, and I was always told, oh, you can't do that. You have to know somebody. You know, it's very like small town idea. And then I ended up going and getting an agent when I was 12 in Vancouver, and I started acting. So then, you know, I started doing the auditioning cycle, and I loved it. I was just so happy, and just I finally had an outlet for all of my energy. So I fell in love with that. I always, since I was really little, I would write. I started with like short stories, and then I slowly evolved into writing scripts, and so that was always like something I did on the side that was just kind of for me. I didn't really, you know, at that time think, oh, I was going to do something with it, because I was so focused on the acting thing. And then when I got into doing music, and I started writing music for other bands and ended up getting successful at it. And I wrote some songs with this band, Theory of a Dead Man, and they ended up, we got a #1 single. And it was crazy. And so all of a sudden, then I had all these bands calling me to write with them. So then I got the bug to do that. So I started writing a lot of music with people. And then I felt like I needed, once again, the entertainment bug. Like I needed my own band, something that I could just, there was no rules and I could do whatever I want. So I started a band called KRSY FOX, and we toured a lot. And I still to this day write with bands. And but then I kind of got to a point where I really missed the acting. I got to act in my music videos and stuff like that, but I really wanted to go back to that. And it was early 2020, right before COVID got crazy. And I decided, you know what, I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to make a short film. I wrote this really fun short film called What the Spell that you guys actually supported a lot. So I came up with this idea, and I talked to my friend Azure, who's an actress, and she's like, I want to do this with you. I'm like, great. So we got this incredible team, and we shot it in 2 days. And I honestly had no expectations other than this is something really fun and something I'd want to watch. And it was just a great creative project for me and a bunch of extremely talented people that I'm very lucky I got to work with. So we put it into festivals, and it did really well. It's still going. It's playing at Film Quest tomorrow. You know, it's still like, you know,
that's awesome.
Years later, which is exciting.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so we, so I was like, okay, cool. Well, we won a bunch of awards, and a bunch of festivals, you know, accepted this film. And so I'm like, you know, I'm going to take this further, and I'm going to try to do a feature. And then COVID got really crazy, and it was clear it wasn't going away. So then I was like, you know what? I think I can do this with my crew if we just make it a skeleton crew, really small. The way I wrote the script, it wasn't a ton of actors at one time. It was very limited exposure. And I knew with the team I had, we'd be able to make it look incredible with very few people there. Because my cinematographer is crazy, and he's just so talented, and my sound people and everyone who worked on it, and the makeup people. And so yeah, so we started shooting Frank. We started in August, so we finished it in October. We did it in 5 sections, and then we got distribution really quickly, so it was really exciting. And yeah, Frank just came out October 25th, this past, like, a week ago, almost exactly. So yeah. So yeah, it was crazy, and it's just been really exciting. And I got to work with Bonnie Aarons on Frank, along with a lot of other great actors. And Bonnie, who is the nun, obviously, so her and I hit it off, and I started really like thinking about her and her lifestyle, and then I just got all these like weird ideas, and I wrote this short, and I was like, hey, I want to shoot something really quickly right after Frank, and I want you to be in it. And she was like, yeah, let's do it. And it ended up turning out so great, and we're so happy with it that we ended up expanding it into a second feature, and it's coming out in December. So it's December 21st. So yeah, it's just been like a crazy ride. We've been just working nonstop. And but it's kind of honestly got me and a lot of us through this really dark time of COVID, and kept ourselves really creative and positive. And then in the meantime, I actually also produced with my partner in One Fox Productions, Spider. He directed and wrote a film called Allegoria, and I starred in it and produced it along with some, and there's some incredible actors in this film. And that's coming out early next year. So we have 3 films like back to back to back, which is really exciting, you know? Yeah, we're like, it's kind of been an incredible time for indie film, and specifically genre film. That's like one thing that's kind of been good, is like all these streaming services have exploded and people want horror films. So it's exciting.
That is a good point, and that is like one of the few kind of positive side effects of everything that's been going on, is that there is that more outlets now, I think, accepting and hungry for, like you said, genre projects, because they, people are seeing that they are so popular, and in many cases so universal. A lot of those streaming services like Netflix, it's in other countries, so they'll be able to see, and they're exposed to stuff. So yeah, it's great that you guys have so many things in the pipeline. It's amazing though that to think that you guys have been able to do all that in what sounds like a relatively short time period. And you mentioned the next feature film with Bonnie, and is that, what's it called? I Live Alone? Is that
Oh, I Live Alone? Yes, yeah.
We saw the trailer for that at Mad Monster Expo back in September. Bonnie was there.
Yes.
And we were there. And at the end of her panel, they were like, everybody stick around. They came out at the beginning. They were like, stick around at the very end of the panel. We got a surprise for everybody. And everybody's like, what's going on? And that's what it was. It was the trailer for your film. And it was so cool to see it, because I didn't know what it was going to be, and we're just in there. And then she starts talking about you, and I'm like, and Sue's there with me, and we're just like, that's, what the spell. And then, it's just all like so cool when, when people, and we love Mad Monster, that convention as well. And of course, Bonnie's amazing. And so, I mean, it was just a really cool moment. And so then, again, to now have Frank come out and connect over that. And I did watch it last night.
Oh, yeah, what'd you think?
I loved it. I loved it.
You're like, it was terrible.
No, it was great. It was great. Yeah. I mean, it was a lot of really cool things in it. It's like you said, it was shot in 5 parts, and that makes sense having seen it now. It's kind of I guess, spoiler alert if anybody, you haven't seen it yet, go watch it. And then but it's similar to an anthology, but not exactly. It's more, they are all connected and part of the one story, and it does all, come full circle. And I love the choice of also having Bonnie as your narrator, because she's just got that amazing voice, and I thought she did a really great job in that. And then to see her show up on screen in the the part 5,
Yeah.
which also had all that I call it Hallowsphere, the Halloween atmosphere,
Oh yeah.
and that was a pleasant surprise too. I didn't, but so technically it's a Halloween movie,
Yeah.
that
I did that.
qualifies on a certain level. That definitely qualifies it. I call it Halloween atmosphere. My new term is Hallowsphere. I've been telling everybody that's the
Well, it
new
did take
term
place
for it.
the last story on Halloween, so
So
that's
there
I,
we
you
go.
know, when I wanted to incorporate Halloween really badly in at least one of the stories, and so I didn't know at that time that the film was going to come out so close to Halloween. Obviously, I hoped it would,
Yeah.
but I didn't have control over that, so I just was like, I don't care. I'm just gonna make this the Halloween story because I felt like it needed that, and it makes the vibe more fun,
Yeah. Oh, totally. Totally. And it totally worked for everything they're doing. I mean, that's the day when the veil is thinnest, like we all know. And so it totally works with the themes and everything. So Frank is out now, and this is your feature film debut.
Mhm.
Can you tell our audience a little bit about what it's about?
Yeah. Okay. So I play a character named Ruby Chase. And basically, Ruby finds herself in a terrible situation, as a lot of people do, where she's in a relationship with a guy who is abusive. And he comes home one night with his friends and he's messed up on drugs. He's out of it. He's getting violent with her. And things take a turn. And she's afraid he's going to kill her. So she starts praying, and she's not a religious person. She feels like she doesn't really know what she's doing, and she just puts something out there. And the thing that answers her is Frank, this towering demon monster, who basically makes her pledge a lifetime of servitude to him, to it. He's not a him, that to help her get out of this situation. So he does, and it does, and Ruby can't take the darkness of what Frank brings into her life, and she ends up killing herself. And this makes Frank very angry because it broke the deal that they had. So he decides I keep saying he, to go on a course of bloody revenge, basically all on a path through all the people who were vulnerable that Ruby's loved in the end, to try to get to her little sister, the person she loves the most in the world. And it was a really fun film. I loved the process of making a short film because I think that it's in some ways more challenging because you have to get a lot in a small amount of time. You need a twist, you need to suck people in, you need to still tell a story. And I was like, well, what if I did something that incorporated what a short film would be? So they're almost like 5 individual films. But like you said, it isn't a classic anthology because everything is connected and it's all around the one story, same monster. But you get to really see these 5 different scenarios, and Bonnie kind of unfolds it through her eyes, and you get to see what. And I also wanted to touch on the ripple effect of, what suicide is, and seeing like the pain that Ruby has to go through, and you can, really feel for her, but at the same time, it also touches on what suicide can do to all the other people in your life who you love and care about. And obviously I used a monster in that analogy, which is not classic, but I just thought if the film had some sort of underlying message, I thought that would be something that's important and, thought-provoking. So it was a super fun film. I tried to do each section because when I would watch anthologies, if you have the same director, sometimes it can be paced very similar. And if there's different directors, sometimes it can be, a little bit more all over the place. And I really wanted it to feel like interesting, and each section kind of visually has its own thing, but it also very cohesive. So I tried, the first story is very, a lot of cuts, a lot of excitement. And the second story is very paced. And I think there's a scene where I don't cut for 3.5 minutes, and it's very fly on the wall. And then, and then the third scene, a story, I wanted it to feel very a classic horror film, like Scream or something, where it's very, and just kind of, I wanted it to have, and then like the fourth one, I wanted it to feel almost like an indie romantic, film that's very, very bizarre and not at all that. But I thought that was kind of fun. And then the last story, once again, to kind of go back to like the roots of like having a seance and a more classic horror
on
vibe.
Halloween.
on Halloween. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I totally got that and appreciated that you did take each story, if you will, each character's story, Ruby's family members, basically, like you said, and in that way, it's not a slasher in any traditional sense, but it is similar in the way that you've got this, like you said, one creature that is kind of stalking and attacking each of these people that are connected, and I loved how, like you said, each one had a slightly different feel to it, and I definitely noticed that. They were different how you shot, and I recognized that was definitely a conscious choice on your part, and I thought that made sense because you've got each character at the center of those stories, each family member, and so that's a little bit more insight into them, how you presented it, I felt, and so I thought that really worked really well, and I did appreciate that it was each one was different, had its own personality, if you will, like they did, and then meeting them, because you don't see Ruby for most of the movie,
Yeah.
but you learn pretty much everything you need to know about her through these other stories and these other people that knew her, and in most cases without them even interacting with each other in the stories, but you still they color that bigger picture. So yeah, I really thought it was put together really cool, and appreciated, like you said, the different styles and textures.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I really wanted it to feel like that they could, if you wanted to release them as standalone shorts, you could.
Mm-hmm.
Also, just knowing too that with COVID, like no one knew what was going to happen when we started, and so I was like, well, maybe this won't get finished. I don't like. It was so unknown back then, and like it was so incredibly. I mean, it still is serious. It was just so like it was just so scary that I just wanted to try to have, be creative and keep going. And we are so lucky. Everyone, we were really careful and everyone stayed healthy and we were able to get this done, successfully. But yeah, it's been a lot of learning and juggling and, and there was a lot of different protocols. Companies like SAG, you have to do certain things, that you didn't have to do before. Yeah. So yeah, it was great. It was the most fun I've probably ever had in my life. So we had the best time. Every single shoot was amazing and fun, and that's what matters.
And you did get some really great performances. I mean, I thought all your actors were really well cast. I just watched it last night, so it's fresh in my mind, but I loved Barbara. I thought that she was hilarious and just great, and we loved the stepmom. I apologize for getting the names of the performers, but they both knocked it out of the park, and those characters made us laugh. And so I appreciated the comedic touches. It doesn't, because it is a dark story, but it doesn't take itself too seriously all the time. There's that darkness, like you want in a scary movie, but it's got plenty of laughs and some funny moments. The guru, the love guru, he was so great. Just so many,
right? Like you need levity and I mean, I guess it also comes from like the films that influenced me, and I was young in the 90s, very young, and so like I grew up like even with films like Scream, like I was young enough that Scream was still really scary to me, like, but also I thought it was really funny, and so I really wanted that to be a feel, at least in some parts of the it's hard to watch a film, and I love a lot of them that are this way, but it's hard to watch a film that is really heavy the whole way through. And I wanted this to be like a fun watch. You can't take yourself too seriously when you're making a monster movie at the end of the day,
And there are some beautiful shots in there, like you said, the cinematography. And I remember this about What the Spell. Those of you guys that don't know, What the Spell was your first short film, and we did screen it at our 2020 Halloween Film Festival. And I remember it well. It was one of our favorite films, and it was paced really well, and again, but it had really beautiful like blockbuster style cinematography, and I felt that again in a lot of these shots in Frank.
Thank you. Yeah, my cinematographer's name is Andy Patch, and he did both films. And we spent a lot of time, you know, talking over the shots, and I drive him crazy because I try to like break rules a lot, and he's just like, oh, but I'm like, I want one shot. I just like 3 minutes. And he's like, are you sure? But then after he's like, okay, you were right. It's cool. But he is like such a great person to work with because he understands exactly what I want. He understands how to make like light things exactly, you know, based on the vision of the story. And, you know, we go through a lot of references, and we spend a lot of time beforehand scouting and talking about it. And Andy's just so talented. When I first met him and we were talking about working together, the thing he got me with, he's like, well, my favorite film is Mandy. And I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah, let's work together. Let's do this. Because he understands, you know, the importance of that, and also the importance lighting plays in a film. And just, yeah, you know, we try to do different things in everything we work on. Like I Live Alone, it's a lot more composed, the shots, a lot of dolly shots, and we did a lot more handheld stuff in Frank. And so it's fun to work with someone who is as skilled as Andy and who can do anything really. If you know, if you're like, make him do something really weird, he's like, all right, cool, yeah, we'll figure that out, let's, you know. And so it's cool and creative all the time, and we just have like a great time on set. And so that's, again, the most important thing.
Well, and all the greatest directors, all my favorite directors, they all say the same thing, that, you know, it's all about hiring the right people, get the best at what they do, and they're going to make you look so much better in the long run. And so there you go. I mean, and that makes total sense that he was on both the projects that I've seen of yours. Because yeah, I mean, it definitely is high quality visuals. And in Frank, you've got a cool new monster that is introduced, and I love how he's presented. It's presented, you know, where in like a classic kind of Jaws style, where you don't see too much too early. You know, you get your spooky hints, and you know, the shape, kind of the Michael Myers. You don't want to see too many long lingering shots until maybe towards the end.
Yeah, totally. It's so important. I remember the first time I saw the preview for the film Signs, I literally had nightmares from that shot where the fingers just come under the door. And it messed with me for seriously a week. I was so scared. And so when I make films, I get bummed when they just give too much away too soon. Like, oh, and then it just takes you out of it. Or if it's too much CGI or something, like I really love practical as much as you can get away with. And so, yeah, it doesn't get scarier. I was talking about this with Bonnie, like the reason that the nun is so scary is because it really is what she looks like. Like, you know, obviously she's got makeup on and stuff, but she has that presence, and she's a real person. And that's why, you know, it's so impactful. And so, yeah, I just try to like pull from things that scare me. And that's really all you can do if you're making something scary, is you hope that other people are scared of the same things.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's definitely some good scares in there. And yeah, Bonnie's performance, like I said, was great. I mean, it's great in The Nun, as we all know, but I mean, she, you know, playing this different character was still pretty terrifying, and she just brings that presence. And like you said, I think she's an actor that knows, like I said, with the narration, she knows her voice, she knows her face, she knows how to really, you know, get to that level of what people are going to be terrifying, and then you add to that quality lighting and cinematography, and there you go. So
Bonnie has a really special face when, as a director and a cinematographer. Andy's like, she has the type of face you want to light. She has I told her there should be a statue of her, because she's just a special, I think she's very beautiful, but she's like a very special looking person that, and so when we met and when I cast her as Mistress Eden, I knew it was going to be great, because she's playing opposite these three teenagers, and she's so intimidating and has such a presence. And we talked about it a lot, and I'm like, you know what, no makeup, you're wearing sweatpants and a sweatshirt, like she's just very like raw, because you never see Bonnie like that, but her face and her presence are so powerful, and like you said, her expressions, that she you know, that's all, you didn't have to do much. I'm like, just be you. And it was the first time we worked together. And the more I've got to know Bonnie now, it kind of blows my mind how composed she was in those scenes, because Bonnie is like a force. Clearly you've seen her in real life. She's a ball of energy, and you cannot ignore her in a room. So yeah, I'm kind of blown away that the performance that she gave in Frank was amazing. It was so good, you know. So yeah, I'm really proud. I'm so proud of all the actors. Barbara, you brought up, that was crazy because we were gonna shoot, I think, in 3 days, and her character didn't exist, and it was an afterthought to me. And I was like, you know, I was going to accomplish a lot of the Barbara parts that she brought to the story through a phone call. And I was like, you know, I think it would be really fun to have this weird neighbor who just like keeps coming in her house and invading her space. And and I wrote Barbara, and I was like, this is really funny, but it only will work with the right actor. And I'm not sure if you guys did you guys play that short film Make a Wish at your festival?
Yes, we did.
Okay. So Josephine is the star from that, and that we actually met because we did this together. And
very cool.
Yeah, so she was like, why did you cast me in this? My character in Make-A-Wish was so different. And it was because I did so many Q&As with her, and she won some awards, and she would make weird acceptance videos where she'd make her cat talk and stuff. And I was like, I knew how much of a weirdo you were. And I knew like that you could bring the Barbara because of the way you are in real life. So she's like, oh, so yeah, she nailed it. She came in and we were like dying on set. She's so funny. And Teru was actually, is Adam Bush, who played my boyfriend in What the Spell. So it's a very different type of character for him, but he's such an incredible actor. And he's one of those actors that is funny even when just being like very playing something down, he's still so funny. And so I knew he would be great as Teru, and he completely grasped what this character was supposed to be. If you live in LA, like there's a lot of those people. So and Lindsay LaRose played Charlotte, the stepmother. And that one I was the most stressed out about casting, because I tried to with Frank because of the COVID scenario, because I tried to cast people I knew as much as possible and who I worked with, because it was a weird time. So, but I didn't know anyone who was right for her character because it was so specific. And she got brought up to me, and I started watching a bunch of her Instagram videos and stuff. And she just like, she travels with wigs. She's like, you know, she's from like Groundlings and stuff. She's like, her background is comedy, and she's just like, she just had that understanding of what it was supposed to be. And so she like cold read it with me over Zoom, and I was like, yeah, there's you got it, you understand. And we had so much fun shooting that. Like we all were like, my cinematographer Andy is a pretty serious guy. He's pretty like quiet. He doesn't give you much, and he was like peeing his pants like while we were shooting. And so I knew it was working really well, and it wasn't just me that found it funny, but I really based that character on so many people I've met in real life living here. And so
I think we've probably all met a few that come close to that. It was, she was great. She was really great. And yeah, those whole scenes were just hilarious, and we loved it.
Oh, thank you.
Talk a little bit about the creature. And like you said, this is a practical creature. He looks great. Where did that design come from, and how did that come to be?
Well, I wanted to design a creature, and I knew I wanted Frank to be this unique monster that I hadn't seen. I wanted him to be really big. I knew he had to be white because I knew a lot of the scenes were going to be in the dark, and he had to pop. I had to be able to make sure you could see him. So I was like, okay, well, what would make him unique? And so I thought, like, what if he didn't have a classic neck? I didn't want him to look too human. So his head kind of goes straight down, which is kind of cool. There's no real neck. I knew I wanted to have like the weird long fingers, and then he only has one eye, which is cool. I thought that was unique. And I wanted his mouth to almost just be like this weird hole with teeth. And then I was like, okay, but it still needs something else. So when I started working with my makeup team, Gitsy and Tyler, I was like, I really want to do something weird. Can we do this where we have his rib cage is on the outside, and I knew in the third story I wanted him to be able to open it, and almost like the way he eats is he like engulfs people into his body. Like he just consumes them through his chest. And I thought that would be really weird, and I hadn't seen that before. So yeah, I just spent a lot of time, like I came up with the design and like a drawing, and then I sent it to them, and we spent a lot of time, you know, trial and error, like just doing like, hey, try this, try this, try this. And Tyler is this incredible artist. He 3D printed the fingers and the ribs and all this stuff. And we made the monster on the guy every day. So it wasn't a suit. It was like 5.5, 6 hours of physical like painting and latexing, and he, you know, covering his whole head. And it was not, I'm sure, at all a comfortable outfit for the actor. They couldn't see, they couldn't pee. If they had to pee, we'd have to like cut a hole in it and then do it again. It was like, it was not like, you know, but they were really into it. There's 2 Franks that I wanted. The first couple stories, he was thinner and more spindly, but as he killed, I wanted him to appear larger. So the second, or let me think, the last 2 stories were the larger actor, and he was more of a classic monster actor. So it was fun to see him like do a lot with his movements. And yeah, it was a really cool thing to do, and just trying to think about visuals and like the way to shoot the monster. You know, Andy is always like, you know, we have to light it more. He's always like, because we can always darken it later. And I'm like, no, like we would fight so much about, I'm like, I have to keep the monster darker, darker, darker. And so, yeah, I drove him crazy, but I was right. He knows I was right.
That's awesome. And I love, and this was another thing I loved, we all loved about What the Spell. And here, you know, like, again, like a lot of my favorite filmmakers, you do so much of it yourself. You know, you're writing it, you're directing it, you're acting, you're working on the soundtrack, you're composing the score, you're editing it. You know, it's like, and again, I think of like, you know, John Carpenter and some of my favorite directors that are really, that's their thing. How that you can really feel that overall voice in those projects from those filmmakers that are part of every bit of it like that. But it obviously it's a lot of work. So can you talk a little bit about the challenges of doing all that, but also then the rewards of that as well?
Yeah, I mean, because I just, you know, I like doing the indie side of film, because you don't have to worry about so many people's agendas. You can just worry about what you're trying to, you know, to put out there. It doesn't mean, you know, at some point I definitely want to do like the $30 million film, absolutely, with the studio, but there is something really special about having complete control. And it'd be really hard for me at this point to not like edit and color and do the music and the sound and mix everything, because it's my vision. So like when I shoot something, I'm like, okay, take this. I already know what I'm going to do in the editing room. And then when I get into editing, it becomes like its own thing. And it's sometimes like the story can change a little in the edit. The fourth story did a little bit. I kind of changed the direction of the story. And I guess I truly do everything. I mean, I did the wardrobe on this film. I cast the film. I directed it. I wrote it. I, you know, designed the creature. And then, you know, when it comes to post stuff, you know, I'm the producer as well, Spider myself. And then the post, I edit, I color, I do all of it. So it's kind of like, it would be really weird to then just do something where I hand off my work after I shoot it and then just trust that somebody is inside your head. I don't know if I'd ever be that type of director. I think that even if someone else ended up editing something I did, I'd be sitting there the whole time and I'd probably be really annoying. So it's probably good that I do this. But no, it is super rewarding because it's 100% your vision. It's like if you paint a picture, like it'd be weird to get the picture only so far and then let someone else color it in. You know, you're kind of like, no, this is my painting. And that's kind of what this is for me. And it takes a long time. It's a lot of work. The cool thing about Frank was that I got to do it in sections because I shot it in sections. So like I would edit it. I'm pretty much one of those people, I'll finish shooting and go home and edit it that night. I'll start editing. And it was helpful because as I went, I would edit each section, and they would have all the sound design and all this stuff. So I knew exactly what I needed from the next story. And I knew if something was missing, or if I'm like, oh, I really need to make sure this hits because this one was paced like this and this is how it looked. It was actually super helpful to finish the film. And I know a lot of filmmakers do edit as they go, and now I completely understand why they do that. So yeah, it's a crazy undertaking, but I've been doing that with all of our films. I edited Spider's film as well and did all the sound design and music and stuff. And it's nice because we have just such an understanding of what we want and what we want to accomplish. And it is a fun side of it. I enjoy editing anyway. I think it's just such a super creative thing that you're in so much control of. And I don't know, it's special if you can learn the skill. And I self-taught myself, which means I spent a lot of years sucking until I got to a point where I learned a lot and I feel like, you know, you can always keep learning. And that's the thing I always tell people. It's like, for the rest of your life, you can learn from every single person you work with. So that's what I try to do. And I just try to, you know, every time I do something, learn as much as I can and be as open as I can to everybody. And it's kind of cool what happens, you know, because I feel like every part of a film, everybody brings something different. The actors bring something that maybe you wouldn't have thought of. And, you know, Andy, my cinematographer, does, or, you know, Spire on the production side, or, you know, it's just really important to not act like you just know everything and just be really open. And so, yeah, I find that the post process to be equally as creative as the actual filming. And honestly, I hate waiting. I'm really impatient. So if I had to wait for somebody to do all that and it took months, I would go insane. I would drive everybody crazy. So yeah, that's another side of it, honestly.
Yeah, take matters into your own hands and get it done on your time that way. And that, but I think you're totally right. I mean, it's you're creating that whole painting from start to finish in pretty much every department. You mentioned a few times working with Spider, and of course, you know, Spider One from our audience would know from Power Man 5000. My wife and I, we work together, obviously, and we love a good husband-wife team that are working together and doing their thing and making it their own and doing it their way. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, we have known each other a really long time, and we met, I think it was 14 or 15 years ago now. And we weren't together then, but I had just done Underworld Evolution, and Spider was creating this, he had this show idea called Death Valley. And he was like, hey, I'm just going to shoot something with you know, a group of people, and we're going to make a proof of concept, and I'm going to go pitch the show. So will you act in it? And so I acted in it, and the show ended up going and ended up being on MTV for a season. It was like, and so that's how we kind of met. So we both kind of had the same sort of creative blood and down to do whatever to make something happen, and rather than just waiting around, you know. So when we ended up years later, we ended up dating, we were the same type of people. And so we started doing, you know, music videos. I would, you know, we'd shoot his or mine, and we do some stuff for other people too. And we created this production company called One Fox Productions. And yeah, when 2020 came around, we decided, we're both like at the place where like, you know what, let's just go for it. We shot a short for him called She Doesn't Really Like Rabbits, which was just like one of the first things we did. And then we did What the Spell. And then we did a short with him called This Is Not Acting, This Is Hell. And then we went into, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to do this feature. So a lot of it is just like supporting each other. Definitely on the production side, I'm more like the dealing with paperwork, dealing with stuff like that. And then he's you know, he's just he's very creative and very helpful and a really great sounding board. And if I have ideas, you know, he always has good thoughts, and I think vice versa, you know, he really trusts me. And so it's really nice to have somebody that, you know, you can really value their opinion, even if you don't ultimately end up agreeing with them. It's always a valid, and it's worth considering. And it's just nice to have that, because, you know, you can't get that just anywhere.
Right.
So yeah, we ended up, Frank was our first feature that under the production company. And then I Live Alone. And I really pushed him seeing this process, because he had done a few shorts. And I was like, you know what? I think that this needs to be a feature. And he agreed. And he wrote this incredible, once again, connected anthology type film called Allegoria that's going to be coming out next year. And it's awesome. Like, it's so great. And it was incredible that I ended up being in the first story, because we shot it as a short with this awesome actor named John Ennis, he's been in he's one of those people you've seen in a million things, and he's so talented. And Spider ended up writing the final story, and my character comes back. And so it was one of the best acting roles I've ever been written, especially as a woman. And you get to a certain age, like, there isn't parts like that. So it was really cool to be able to do that as well. And I was just a producer on that, and then an actor. So I actually just got to be an actor for a few, you know, the days we shot, which, other than the production side of it, was nice for me, because when you're directing and doing everything else, you don't get to quite dive into it as much as you do in a scenario like that. So yeah, it's been really fun. And, you know, we're kind of just like at the point now, we're like, cool, these, like, pretty much our movies are coming out almost like 2 months apart, so 3 in a row, and we're like, hey, now what are we gonna do? You know, so we actually started something else really cool. Our friends who have a podcast called The Boo Crew, Trevor and Lauren, they approached me a while back, and they're like, hey, like, do you guys have like short stories? Because the narrative fiction space is huge for podcasts, and we should do something together, the 4 of us. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And so we ended up starting this podcast called Bleeders DIEgest that's all original scary stories, but they're fully immersive, almost like those old radio shows where it's like sound effects and music, and you know, they're really scary and cool. And they have all these awesome special guests that come on, and we are doing it through the Bloody Disgusting Podcast Network. And so it's been such a incredible experience to do this, and just, it really keeps up your writing chops, and you have to be acting in these stories like every week. So if we're not shooting, we're doing Bleeders, which is, you know, equal, if not more work, honestly. Like, doing all the post for that, which I do, is like a lot of work, because it is very sound rich. So, but really fun, and people seem to really enjoy it. And it's been really cool going through the Halloween season doing this, because it just, every story is all based around Halloween, and it's been really fun.
Oh yeah. And I was going to ask you about the podcast, and I listened to the episode, the one with Scout, and it was awesome. And now I want to go back and get caught up and binge all the other ones. But yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. So that is a throwback in a way. I mean, they're hot right now, obviously, but the whole idea of like audio dramas, it's such a throwback to like pre-technology in a lot of ways, you know, before there was even TV, that it was like radio dramas. And that's what I was thinking listening to it. It's like, this really is the modern equivalent of exactly what they were doing before there was even TV. And it's cool, you know, that one, and it looks like all of them are fairly short form, you know, so you can kind of listen to it on your way somewhere if you need to, or whatever, and just get a quick fix. But I love the style of it, and just like you said, very immersive, and you can easily get into it, and kind of like a Twilight Zone, Tales from the Crypt, you know, vibe to it. And so those, you're writing basically every week, you're putting out one every week, and oh man, that's got to be, like you said, almost like putting on a TV show, just minus a few cameras, I guess. But that's That's
It's
amazing.
crazy. It's like it's a crazy undertaking that I don't think I really grasped the amount of work it would be, but it's very rewarding. It's been really cool. Like since you listen to the Scout one, you should continue through the October just because you're very Halloween focused. I think you'll like the one that came out Halloween week called The Skinned Man, because it's about like it's a Halloween legend. But yeah, so for Halloween, we've had guests, like we had Bonnie Aarons, obviously she's done 2. We had Spencer from Ice Nine Kills. We've had Adam Bush came. He did this one with me called My Sick Little Friend. That is by far the most brutal one. Make sure that's an adult only one. The cool thing about doing these is that they are like the old time radio dramas, except they're much more modern, and we don't really hold back with like language and brutality depending on the story. So yeah, we had him as a guest, and then we had Scout, we had Kelly Maroney, Chaz Bono just did one, Laura Minnell, we had Katie Cassidy just did one. And cool. So yeah, we got to work with just Bryce Johnson, so many really, really, really talented actors, and it's just been kind of this crazy cool thing. I think we're on this week is actually on Bill Moseley, which is gonna be really fun. I think this is episode 22 of our season. So yeah, we've been working really hard on Bleeders, and it's just been really cool.
Oh yeah, I think our audience, if they haven't checked it out, should definitely check it out, because like I said, I'm gonna get caught up on those other episodes, because I listened to that one, and yeah, I loved it, and just loved the short form, and the quality. It sounds really cool. So just a great idea, and right up our alley, obviously. But back to family life for just a minute. Obviously, being with Spider, you've got some interesting in-laws that our audience is very familiar with. Can you tell us just a little bit about what it is like having Rob and Sherry Moon Zombie as your in-laws?
I mean, very, very normal and great. Honestly, I feel really lucky, because you can't always pick your family when you're dating somebody, and they're the coolest, and we all just get along really great. And obviously we all do similar things, so we have a lot in common, and we really all support each other. And they're just great people. They're just, very kind, and it's been tougher with COVID and all this stuff, because we haven't got to see them. We're a pretty close family, and they've been in their place in the East Coast, so we haven't got to see them for it's been over a year. So it's been hard, to be away, but I think that's what everyone's kind of going through. And but yeah, no, it's people think like, whoa, what must your Thanksgivings be like? And it's kind of like we're having like a vegan dinner and just like hanging out and watching movies, and it's very normal. But yeah, it does help that everybody is in the same business and really has an understanding of what each other does, and and just having the support from each other, I think is great. And obviously you can learn a lot from them, and Rob always has great advice, and so does Sherry about this is a newer thing for me. Rob's been making film for a long time, so yeah, no, they're great. And once again, I'm super lucky, because you never know.
Yeah, that's that's awesome to hear that they are just cool, down there people, even at Thanksgiving, just hanging out. And you mentioned Underworld briefly. I gotta go back to that. I know this was, I guess, maybe pre-music, pre-songwriting, but Underworld, it's one of my personal favorite franchises, and you were in the second film, Evolution. That's one of my favorite. Those first two are just so awesome. And so can you talk to us just a little bit about your memories and experiences working on that? How did you get that role?
Oh, that was crazy. It was, so I was a huge fan of the first one. I love vampire films in general. And when I went and did the audition, I knew right away they they wanted me to come back, and I was like one of their first choices. So I was like, oh my God, like, but the character originally, I struggled because she was supposed to be topless. And I was like, oh God, I don't know if I'm like, you know, super young. I was like 22 at that point. And I was like, I don't know. And my agent's like, you have to do this. This is like such a incredible opportunity. So I went, and I went to the callback, and we did some different things. We worked and, you know, and a lot of it was talking to me and seeing, you know, my influences. And I told them how much I love vampire films and Fright Night and all this stuff. And yeah, I had to do some physical things, but, and then, you know, I found out really early. I think I was the first new cast member, like, and one of the few. So, so it's really, really exciting. And when I got to the set, it was pretty crazy because, yeah, there's just like werewolves on stilts and like, and, you know, Scott Speedman had, like, I think the first time I met him, had full makeup and yeah, I was just thrown into like, okay, yeah, you're working with a stunt person. We had to do a lot of like rehearsal and like a lot of like full makeup. Len doesn't like a ton of makeup or anything. So, but you're a vampire, so you're still getting fully airbrushed in your skin. So, and then like I couldn't see you could not see with the contacts I had in like at all. And yeah, it was a very like, you know, once you're in the makeup and the teeth and the eyes and like the blood, you're just kind of like sitting there like all day, like afraid to, move. But it was cool. I got to do a fight scene with Kate. They ended up not using the stunt person, and you know, she strangled me and, you know, threw me into a wall, and it was pretty fun. We did like some like hitting and punching, and I got to do a blood orgy with Stephen McIntosh, which was really fun and new for me as well. It was cool too, because when we shot that scene where I walk in and I drop the robe and I'm like Len told me, I think that was the first day we shot. He's like, come look at this. And he's like, this is going to be in the trailer. I'm telling you right now. And he's like, and he was right. It was. And the funniest part about it is that it was in the trailer and I'm wearing like a thong when I do that. So like you could see my butt. But obviously they can't put that in the trailer. So someone like sat there and like CGI'd underwear over my butt. I'm like, so someone stared at my butt for that long. That's weird. But yeah, no, it was one of the most incredible experiences I've ever had. And yeah, being a young actor, I was just, you know, getting to work with people like that. And I loved, it was really inspiring watching how Len Wiseman was as a director, because he was so hands-on and so involved. And, you know, I learned a lot just from watching him, you know, and just the way he is as a director. I thought that was really cool. And I just tried to like take in as much as I could. And it was really fun at the end of the nights when I drive home, because I'd be just like covered in blood and I'm like too tired. I was like, you know, I have to get up again and come back. And I'm just going to go get gas. And like, people would be like, what the fuck? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm covered in blood. No, I'm fine. It's just, yeah. So it was a really, really great shoot. And it was definitely the biggest set I've ever worked on, and budget wise, and just also like, you know, the people and the actors that were on it, and just, it was just, yeah, amazing experience for a young actor.
Oh man, it sounds awesome. And like I said, it's one of my favorites. And yeah, those scenes definitely very memorable, and it did make the trailer. Like you said, it's kind of one of those iconic Underworld moments.
And I'm on the back of the DVD, which is so exciting. I was like, I screamed when I saw that. I was like, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a totally major part of that film. And so you said you got to do some fighting with the stunt double, but you did get to get slammed by Kate Beckinsale.
I didn't end up using the stunt. We didn't use the stunt person.
Oh, okay. So it was all her. I ended up
doing it, and it was all her. Yeah, no, she's funny, because the first part I run up and she like clotheslines me, like, you know, and she was like, "Oh my God, I feel so." I'm like, "It's fine. It's fine." But yeah, it was like a very physical scene, and you have to really go for it when you do stuff like that. And once again, I learned from that shoot, you know, going forward, even doing these indie things, like how much physicality you have to put into movements if you want to really sell it. And you know, that was a big impactful set for me. Because when I did Frank, I was literally covered in bruises head to toe every shoot, especially the one where the boyfriend is, you know, you see his violence against me, and he's like the sweetest guy ever. And I was like covered in bruises, like just literally, because you have to sell it and you have to really like, make it believable. So yeah, no, I it was cool because yeah, working with Kate like that, and she's obviously done so much of that, and so I trusted her, and it worked out really well. Ultimately, but yeah, it was cool just getting to do those scenes with her.
Oh yeah, and how was she on set? I mean, did you get to interact any off screen?
Yeah, she's super nice. Like, you know, she was just super like sweet and chatty, and you know, she was a super nice person, and yeah, she made it really comfortable, and you know, I think yeah, she just felt bad, like she was scared she was hurting me. I'm like, no. It was pretty funny watching her. I think it was on Leno when Underworld came out. They used our clip as the promo clip they showed on all the talk shows, and just hear her be like, "Oh, this scantily clad young lady here," and just like it was pretty funny and surreal. Like, wow, that's cool. Great. Now I'm on Leno and all this stuff. This is awesome. So yeah, really exciting.
Yeah, that is awesome. Yes, yeah. So technically, you were on Leno with her. So there you go.
There you go. Yeah. I'll take it, sure.
yeah, why not? That is awesome to hear. And so when that movie came out, like you said, you were a fan of the first one. I always think that those movies I'm a huge fan too, and I think they're underrated because of you know, having that character of Selene. You know, it was like so pre Wonder Woman and Captain Marvel, and I mean, there's been other badass female heroes, of course, before that, but I just thought she was like the ultimate up to that time, and kind of still the ultimate, kind of bringing together all our favorite, whether it was Sarah Connor or Ripley, and kind of bringing all that together into this death dealer, the baddest death dealer ever, and I think it doesn't get all the credit that it maybe deserves for having that at a time when, you know, now it's kind of more normal, but you know, that was a little bit groundbreaking at the time. Not the first, but kind of the first to take it to that level, I feel like, and have a big franchise like that.
No, it's great. And like, you know, when the second one came out, because the first one was almost more of like a cult following. It was like the budget was a little smaller and stuff. And then when the second one came out, it was like #1 at the North American box office. It was like, holy crap. And like it blew up, and it was cool because I feel like the thing about Underworld is, it's just such like this following of people. But I agree. I feel like her character was very fresh and really exciting, and just exciting as a girl to be in a film like that, you know. And I was so proud when I saw the film and how it came out. And they have like graphic novels with, you know, with my character in it, and comics that I have somewhere. And it's just like, this is wild. I've made it in Playboy from like the hottest scenes in film. And I'm like, wow, I'm in Playboy this year. Like someone texted me, or a couple people did, and they're like, congrats on Playboy. And I was like, what? Like, I just like, what happened? But I was like, oh, okay, it was that. Okay, that's awesome. So yeah, no, it was just really cool. And yeah, she's just like a badass in those films. So yeah, there hasn't really been a horror-based film that's been like Underworld with such a franchise, which, you know, maybe it's time for another one.
Yeah. Keep it going. I mean, you know, I'd love to see them do another one, bring Selene back, and keep it going. But I'll be there first in line for a ticket for sure. And back on the music for a minute, because I've been listening to some of KRSY FOX on this today as I was getting ready for this, and I love it. And the song "Witch," that was at the end of "What the Spell," right? Is that the same track? Okay, I thought so. I remember hearing that when we first time I watched the film. And like, oh man, that is a badass song. I need to put that on my Halloween playlist and all. And I kind of forgot it. And then I heard it again listening to some of your tracks today. And I'm like, oh, hell yeah.
Thank you.
Will you do, I mean, I know you're making music now, obviously, for your film projects. do you see like doing more of that with your band, like
Yeah.
gigging out and stuff?
Yeah, definitely. Pre-COVID, I sort of put together this other group just as well, just as something like fun that was like a girl band called Quinn, and that a song from Quinn is actually at the end of Frank. So yeah, no, I'm always doing stuff. I definitely KRSY FOX will have new music, and I definitely miss playing. It's been I've never gone this long without playing a show since I've started a band, so it's weird, but you know, it's still kind of a weird time with touring, and you know, and I think a lot of bands are having a hard time with, you know, people are getting COVID still, and you know, have to cancel, and so I've been focusing more on the film side of it. But yes, definitely I want to get back to it, and I'm glad you like Witch. That's one of my favorite songs we've ever done. It's just was such a fun song and super inspired by, you know, films I loved, and you know,
I could tell, and yeah, Michael Myers reference in there, guys. That makes my Michael Myers playlist as well. I've got a whole playlist of any song I find where they mention Michael Myers or it's about that franchise in any way. I got a whole Spotify playlist, so it's added to that and my regular Halloween playlist as well. So you, well, I'll be looking forward to hearing more from you guys.
Thank you.
It seems to me that right now where you're at with everything, it's kind of with the films, it's bringing everything that you've done kind of into this one package almost. You know, it's got your music touch, it's got your acting, obviously, it's got your writing, so a lot of yourself, your personality in there. It's got your spider, you know, your husband, and you know, it's got your life, literally, your things you love. So is that how it feels to you? It looks to me like this is like bringing all the things you've done and now being able to combine it all into these films.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's always the goal, right? Like you're supposed to be one sort of product as a person. So I want to be able to, people think like you can only do one thing or the other thing, and I don't think that's true. I think you can work together with all of it, and you can do a little bit of everything. You should try to do as much of everything as you possibly can, especially in the creative side of it. If you know, if you're musical and you know, you make films or you write, like you should try to incorporate those things. And you know, Rob does that really well too. You know, he obviously, you know, so there's a lot of people who are doing what I'm doing and what Spider's doing that, you know, and so yeah, I feel like I need that too. Like I feel like sometimes I'll get super focused on one thing, and then I need the other outlet because it keeps me sane, you know. Like I've been writing with Theory of a Dead Man for their new record, and we've been spending a lot of time working on that, and it's like we're writing rock songs and stuff like that. So then sometimes you're like, you know what I need to do now? I need to go write a country song because it'll actually make me better when I come back and we work on the next song, and it keeps everything fresh. And so it's just the same with film. And I try to, when I write stuff or when I'm shooting, I try to do different films each time and really try to, like, you know, like I Live Alone is very different than Frank, a very different type of film, and probably the most insane thing I've ever, I don't really know how else to say it. It's just the craziest movie I've ever made. Like when you see it, it's like, what? This is crazy. So, you know, it's important though. And I think that the cool thing about what I do is that there's no rules. Like there's no, like, you know, you make it up as you go along. That's kind of the beauty of it. I kind of don't know how I got so lucky that this is what I get to do for a living, is just make shit up and then put it out there. You know, that's really all I've ever wanted, you know? So yeah, I think you can do a little bit of everything, you know, and it definitely helps me. It makes me less insane for sure. Maybe, I don't know, maybe not.
Awesome. Well, I love it. And like I said, I love that you do it all, and you can hear and feel your voice in everything that you touch, and you're working with a lot of awesome people that we know and love as well, and a lot of cool themes and stuff that we love. So yeah, we're fans, and I look forward to seeing all of your upcoming projects. So we've got the feature version of I Live Alone in December, you said?
It comes out December 21st, and if you're LA or going to be in LA, it's actually premiering at LA Comic-Con. It's December 3rd to 5th, which is really exciting. Yeah, so yeah, that's the next thing coming, as well as Bleeders, Bleeders DIEgest.
And then you've got the Spiders feature, you said. What's that called again? Allegoria.
Allegoria. We're not allowed to say the release date yet or the distribution company, but it's going to be we're really excited about who we're working with, and and it is coming out the first quarter of next year. So we just, but it's very exciting, and it's going to be very close following I Live Alone. So it's just going to be, you guys are going to be really sick of us soon.
Oh no, no way. No way. We'll have you back on and talk about those projects when the time's right as well. Because we're going to be looking forward to that. And like you said, you've got Bleeders DIEgest going on every week right now. So subscribe to that, guys, and go check that out for sure.
Awesome. And it's DIEgest, like DIE, just because some people are like, there is another podcast called Bleeders DIEgest, but they're not DIEgest. Yeah. DIEgest.
You got it, guys. DIE. Bleeders DIEgest. Okay, guys. Oh man. Well, KRSY, this has been amazing today. I can't thank you enough for spending this time and talking to me. This has just been a blast getting to know you.
You too. This has been so much fun. I hope we get to do this lots, and I'm a big fan of you guys too. I follow everything you guys post, and it's always fun because you guys have all the Halloween insights. So it's very important. It's actually everything.
Well, hey, that means a lot coming from you, and to hear you say that makes me know what I already knew, but you confirmed today you're definitely one of us. You are one of us, and that means a lot coming from you, and we love to hear it. And yes, we will definitely talk again, do this again soon. I can't wait.
This was so fun. Thank you so much.
Oh man, thank you. And hey, happy Halloween.
Yes, happy Halloween.